let's dive into talking about this book. I mean, Steve, this book is brand new, and I want you to help me describe Feeding Dangerously for the people that have not seen it yet. I want you to be the one that tell us. Don't tell me, Jose, you know it. No, I want to hear from you. What is the overview of the story? And how did you tell it as a graphic novel? Give us the smarts about what this is and how this really came to become what has become an amazing story.
Sure. Well, I tell people it was inspired. We met because you were posting about We Fed an Island years and years ago. And to an extent, Feeding Dangerously, the idea was began as doing this graphic novel spiritual sequel that would go, and we would not just talk about Puerto Rico, we would talk about all the other places and all the other challenges. But it's really it became something much bigger. It became this story of how to do good on the ground, how to do good in the face of insurmountable power and insurmountable forces. And the reason I say it like that is because I've said it before, but at some point in nearly every comic professional's lives, you're gonna do capes comics. You're gonna do superheroes. It may not be your bread and butter for long, but you will usually touch on them in some way. And I became aware of you, Jose, through the work you do with World Central Kitchen, through your friendship with one of my idols and your late friend Bourdain. But when we met and we started talking about this book, I realized it's not so different from the type of work I do at Marvel and DC. The difference is that it's real. This is a story not about people who put on strange costumes and punch things in the face to solve problems. This is across the globe, in any nation struck by a disaster. These are the stories from the ground with the real people who don't wear a cape, but all the same, they go out and they confront this insurmountable power. And it's not the great darkness. It's not take your pick of comic book villain. It's nature. It's this force that we can't reason with, that doesn't really consider us at all. And it's this question of how do we, as thinking sentient beings, how do we stand up against this force? The answer is in these pages. This is a book. I hesitate to say about heroism because that's a loaded term, but it's a book about how we as humans can harness our power and sort of stand up for ourselves against these not evil, but these inconsiderate forces. We're nothing to natural disasters. We're nothing to nature. So how can we say we're here? How can we stand up? How can we defend ourselves, plan and fortify for the future? And that all sounds very heady, but what I love about Feeding Dangerously, what I love about what you do, what we do, is that it all starts with the people right on the ground. This is like, it's like viral defiance of the powers of nature. And I say viral because when I was down there doing it with you, I was immediately struck, as we know, as folks know, this is a force that pays itself forward. And that's in the book as well. When I first met you in person, Jose, much of the people working
we met through Twitter, people. We met
through Twitter, yes. When I first met you in person, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I was struck. I got down there in Florida, and most of the people that were helping were people that had just been helped in North Carolina.
Hold on a second, guys. Steve Orlando came to Florida during Hurricane Michael. Because in a way, for me, was like, proof that he really wanted to do this. And I just told him, why you don't come to Florida? And before I knew, there he was, next to me on my car, as we were going around feeding different communities. Steve Orlando himself showed me what really determination is. He was there. I knew he wanted to really do a comic book about World Central Kitchen because, in a way, he became part of World Central Kitchen the moment he showed up in the middle of a hurricane.